Welcome back to the Thursday Talk series, which stands for Teaching and Learning Conversations, where we are picking up on the topic of engaging with body language, the silent language of learning. I'm your host, Shay Johnson, and today we're going to explore how your own body language as an instructor can greatly influence student perceptions and engagement. But first, if you missed part one of this series where we covered decoding nonverbal cues, go check that out first, then meet me back here. All right, ready to dig into enhancing your instructor presence? Great. Let's start with the basics. Your body language is just as important as the words that you say to convey confidence, approachability, and enthusiasm, or the lack thereof. Did you know that when your nonverbal and verbal communication contradict one another, people believe you're nonverbal over your verbal? That's right. So if you come into class and say, "I'm so glad to be here today," but you've got your arms crossed and you roll your eyes while you're saying it, people defer to your crossed arms and rolled eyes as the true message. And your students will believe that you actually are not glad to be here despite your words because your body language says otherwise. Students are constantly picking up on your nonverbal cues, often subconsciously, and these cues can make or break their learning experience. So how do you use your body language to your advantage? Well, I've got 5 strategies. Let's get into it. 1, cultivate positive body language. Stand tall with an open posture, because this conveys confidence and helps establish your authority in the classroom while also increasing your approachability. Avoid postures like crossing your arms, as they can come off as closed and defensive. Number 2, use gestures to reinforce points. Deliberate hand gestures can help emphasize key points and make your instruction more dynamic. Just be careful not to overdo it, as too much movement can be distracting. When gestures become distracting, you'll lose your students' focus on your message. Number 3, facial expressions matter. Now, if you're like me, sometimes your face tells your thoughts before anything comes out of your mouth, and that transfers to many fields and many interactions. So remember, a smile can go a long way in making you appear approachable and warm. Use your facial expressions to show enthusiasm for your subject matter, because your smile is contagious and so is your enthusiasm. If you're enthusiastic and your facial expressions are welcoming, your students tend to follow suit. Number 4, eye contact. You've heard that your eyes are the window to the soul, which means that they give a lot away and give insight to your true thoughts sometimes. Well, making regular eye contact with your students can help build a connection and show that you're engaged with them individually. It also encourages them to stay focused and participate. In a virtual setting, be sure to look at the lens of the camera and not yourself on screen when you're speaking or recording. And when you record, your students will then feel like you're talking directly to them, which helps them stay engaged. Number 5, move around the room. Now, when I say that, I don't mean to pace, but I mean don't just stand behind the podium or sit at your desk. Moving around the room helps you connect with your students, keeping them on their toes, and shows that you're actively engaged in their learning. In a virtual setting, consider standing when you record or adjusting your posture in the middle of your chair where you're seated more close to the edge. This will help keep you from becoming stiff and robotic and aid in keeping your students' attention. By consciously using these 5 techniques, you can create a classroom environment where students feel more connected to you and the material, leading to better engagement and learning outcomes. I know these are quick tips, but if implemented, they can make great impacts. As I always say, it's not enough to just get insight to the information without applying it. So I have a task for you. You're welcome. Completing this task this week will help you practice enhancing your instructor presence. So here we go. Your task is to record and review your teaching. You ready? Good. Let me tell you the 5-step process. You will record, review, make adjustments, practice, and then seek feedback on your overall presence. So let's get into the details. You're going to choose one of your upcoming classes to focus on for this exercise. Step 1, record a lecture. So choose a class where you will set up your phone or camera and record yourself teaching. Nothing fancy is required, just the ability to see yourself on camera and hear yourself as you teach. Focus on using positive body language, such as open posture, appropriate gestures, and varied facial expressions. Step 2 is to review the recording. Now, wait about a day or so after you've completed that lesson or lecture, and then watch the recording with an eye for your body language. Note where you seem confident, approachable, and engaging, as well as the areas where your body language may need improvement. If you really want to challenge yourself, watch the video a second time without sound at all and see how that impacts your perception of your message that you're displaying when solely focusing on nonverbal cues and behavior without the support of sound. Step 3, make adjustments. So now you've recorded and you've viewed your recording. I want you to identify 2 specific changes you can make to enhance your instructor presence. For example, you might decide to increase eye contact or become more deliberate with your hand gestures. Step 4 is to practice. So we can't just try things, observe things, and then say, well, that was great information. No, I want you to actually implement these changes in your next class and notice the impact that it has on student engagement. Step 5, I want you to seek feedback. Lastly, if possible, ask a trusted colleague to observe your class or to review the recording that you provide and give you feedback on your body language and overall presence. And that's it. Your task will be complete. I look forward to hearing about how this works out for you and what you find out about your instructor presence. That wraps up today's episode on enhancing instructor presence through body language. Join me next week as we continue this series on engaging with body language, the silent language of learning, where we will discuss how you use body language to create welcoming and inclusive classroom environments. I look forward to seeing you on our next Thursday Talks. Bye.